Falling in love with spaghetti westerns was not something that I anticipated happening, but after watching a few spaghetti westerns, after kind of diving into the western genre as a whole with Matt, aka War Champ, I found that it was a genre I really enjoyed. I encourage you to check out the two in-depth reviews that Matt and I did on Django and The Great Silence, but it's been a long time since then, and now I've watched closer to 20 spaghetti westerns total. And over time, you start to see similar names pop up time and time again, and they become your favorites within the genre. For fun, I'd like to rank my top 10 actors in the spaghetti western genre. And I encourage you to do the same below while also subscribing to the channel. This is based on performances, obviously, and if you're in, more than one, I try to kind of skew that in your favor. Starting at 10, we have Jean-Louis Trintignant, and he is Silence from The Great Silence. The backstory of this character allows him to be the stoic protagonist that the genre is now very well known for. While the ending didn't go the way we expected, Silence's moral code is one of the things that make him unique and a very likable character. At number 9, we have James Coburn from Duck, You Sucker. I have only one word to describe this performance, that is charisma. Coburn's chops are on full display as he plays the bomb expert in this badass western from Sergio Leone. While I'm probably too low on my ranking of this film amongst the other spaghetti westerns I've seen, I can't deny I really enjoyed Coburn's performance. And another video that, if I may recommend, check out the Sergio Leone movies ranked on my channel as well. Coming in at number 8, we have Woody Strode from Once Upon a Time in the West and Keoma. While this is pretty controversial even in my own mind, Strode's face is one I can't unlink with the spaghetti western genre. He has a smaller role in Once Upon a Time in the West, but gets to carry a larger role in Keoma, where he makes his presence known in the action-packed shootout. While he isn't nearly, as charismatic as Coburn or iconic as Silence, Strode's striking looks make him memorable in his performances, while not being as long as those two are impressive and should be praised. Coming in at number 7, we have Jack Palance from The Mercenary and Compañeros. Palance has the advantage of getting to play the villain in these two films, and these films do right by their villains in making them unique and dislikable. Jack's role as Curly in The Mercenary sees him take the role as a man hot on the heels of Nero and Mastante, whom had made a fool of him earlier in the film, leading to a momentous showdown where he seeks his revenge. Palance also plays the villain in Compañeros, where he has an immediate distinct characteristic of having a wooden hand. One he received after having his trusty bird gnaw his hand off to escape capture, showing the will to survive and gain revenge immediately to the viewer. Both of these films are greater for having such a strong villain, and Jack Palance has the skills and the look to put in performances that bolster these characters to be memorable in a genre where often only the star is remembered. At number 6, we have Thomas Milian in Compañeros, Face to Face, in The Big Gundown. In all three roles, he plays second fiddle to a bigger name lead to a certain extent. Compañeros, he is under the tutelage of Franco Nero's character in hopes of becoming a revolutionary. The Big Gundown sees him chased into Mexico by Lee Van Cleef, and in Face to Face, we see Gian Maria Volonte eventually usurp him as the leader of his raiders, though he did play the main lead seemingly for the majority of the film. It is his performances in Compañeros in The Big Gundown that I like the most, as he has a great energetic personality to bounce off the tremendous leads that he shares the screen with. Face to Face was a solid evolution for his character, though his look and more reserved personality did not resonate nearly as well as the two previous roles. At number 5, we have the madman himself, Klaus Kinsky. While it is controversial to place Kinsky over Milian, I must say I'm slightly biased because of my love for Werner Herzog, which by proxy gives me a deep appreciation for Kinsky's performances. I will say, in my defense, he does well in his small roles, such as the Hunchback in For a Few Dollars More, and as a priest/freedom fighter in A Bullet for the General. But that is not what gets him into the top 5. Starting with his lead performance in And God Said to Cain, we have a reserved, smoldering type of role in this revenge flick, a style that Werner was also very inclined to try and cultivate when he directed Kinsky, and for very good reason. I feel this is the perfect role for Kinsky, as made obvious by his success performing as Count Dracula nearly a decade later. Kinsky's presence, look, and body language have characteristics that parlay particularly well when dealing with a creepy type of character, which plays well in the style of And God Said to Cain, because he is picking people off in a gothic western at night during a storm where the western leans more so into the horror genre than most films in the spaghetti western genre. Despite not being a Herculean figure, Kinsky is able to bring the menace in this film, making him a feared protagonist, which makes his role, and in so doing, the film itself, quite special. Last but not least, we have The Great Silence, where Kinsky plays one of the most memorable villains of any spaghetti western, with the ending cementing this as fact in my mind. At number 4, we have Gian Maria Volonte. I've seen Volonte in 4 spaghetti westerns so far, and while this is one of the performances I've seen longest ago, his villainous character in For a Few Dollars More is still what sticks out most for me. The backstory of the character and how he carries that defining moment with him is just trademark brilliance from the likes of Sergio Leone. Palance also has a very interesting role in Face to Face, where he's paired with Thomas Milian as a professor who turns to a criminal lifestyle as to make his mark on history. And while it's not my favorite role from his, it shows a lot of versatility. Gian is also very good in A Bullet for the General, where he gets to show more of his bombastic characteristics as a freedom fighter who is very much motivated by the gratification of helping his people. I found this to be one of his best performances, maybe just slightly below For a Few Dollars More. We must also not forget his inclusion in one of the best spaghetti westerns of all time as Ramon Rajo in A Fistful of Dollars. It is not only the quantity, but the quality of Volante's work that have him breaking into the top 5. At number 3 is the unmistakable Lee Van Cleef. Van Cleef has maybe his most popular performances in Sergio Leone's The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, where he's one of 3 stars, and For a Few Dollars More, where Eastwood and he sets out on the bounty of El Indio, where Van Cleef's backstory is tremendous. While these 2 roles alone would be enough to land Lee on this list, his lead performances in The Big Gundown, Death Rides a Horse, and Day of Anger are enough to put him reasonably in the discussion for the best in the genre. Lee's piercing look and rugged charisma make him the perfect lead in these great pictures, as he is believable in the role of a cowboy who is not to be trifled with. Lee plays the role of a mentor of sorts in both Day of Anger and Death Rides a Horse, one that he does well as he looks like a grizzled vet while having the self-assuredness to seem like the type of guy who would have a thing or two to pass on. Van Cleef plays a man of the law in The Big Gundown, where he plays a man who will go to any lengths to uncover justice, another role that fits him like a glove. Ultimately, Van Cleef's striking resemblance will forever be linked to his brilliant roles in some of the best spaghetti westerns there are to watch. Number 2, we have none other than the great Franco Nero. I think the only real argument that can be made here is that neither Nero or Van Cleef were first, where they honestly have tremendous cases, as I have not seen a bad performance from Nero in the 4 spaghetti westerns I've seen him star in. Nero shows versatility in playing a Polak, a Swede, a half-Indian, and then a straight-up cowboy. While Nero's performances in The Mercenary and Compañeros are similar, it does not make them any less enjoyable, as he plays the very sure of himself foreigner who develops a relationship with the second lead that softens him from his previously self-centered mindset. Nero's performance in Kioma is iconic, as he plays the pure protagonist who puts life and limb on the line to stand up for what is right. Kioma is a more wild performance, as he is on a mission to stand up against those in power despite being greatly outnumbered, highlighted especially during some of the tremendous set pieces in that film. Last but not least, we have one of the most iconic performances in the entire genre, or the most iconic performance in the entire genre, as Franco Nero is Django. Django is the prototype for what a badass killing machine of a cowboy could and should be, and Nero pulls this off as only he can. If not for our number 1 entry, I would feel confident in saying that there would be no name quite as synonymous with the genre as Franco Nero. Before we get to number 1, I'd like to go through some honorable mentions, but first, be sure to subscribe to the channel. The first honorable mention is Lou Castel from A Bullet for the General, whose look is one of the most unique of any spaghetti western character I've seen. Castel's character dons the look of a gangster, which does well to separate him from the pack, as his mindset is also quite different from the group he joins. While he sticks out like a sore thumb, it doesn't stop him from duping the group before the film's climactic finish. Henry Fonda in Once Upon a Time in the West, his features jump off the screen in this film. He's a confident lead and one of the best and most well-known actors to lend his talents to the spaghetti western genre. Joseph Cotten in The Hellbenders is another great character where he is memorable as an anti-hero who's trying to secure money for the cause and kills Union soldiers as not to lose his payload. Charles Bronson, in his role as Harmonica in Once Upon a Time in the West, is one of the coolest characters of all westerns. His steely demeanor plays perfectly in this film. And the last honorable mention is Eli Wallach from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Wallach absolutely loses himself in this role as Tusco Ramirez in one of the main roles of that film and completely owns that character. Had he been in more spaghetti westerns, I have no doubt he would have been included properly on this list. Coming in at number 1 is no surprise to anyone who's been keeping track at home, Clint Eastwood. While Eastwood's number of inclusions leaves room for debate as to whether he's the GOAT of the genre, I find the iconography of them all to be too great to go any other way. Eastwood leads in the greatest spaghetti western of them all, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which cements him as a name that will forever be linked to the genre. Eastwood also plays this smart and capable cowboy in A Fistful of Dollars inspired by Yojimbo, where he puts on a performance that is nearly as good as Toshiro Mifune's iconic and brilliant performance. And if you know anything about me or this channel, you know I love Mifune. Lastly, we have Eastwood's tremendous role as a bounty hunter in For a Few Dollars More. Not only does Eastwood perfect the stoic lead prototype in these films, he leads the charge in some of the best and most famous films in the genre. For that reason alone, I can't crown anyone else king, despite my deep urge to go Van Cleef or Nero for their greater dalliance in this genre. I appreciate y'all joining me. Let me know your list down below. Also, please be sure to subscribe, and I will catch you on the flippity floop. Bye, y'all.